Hello everyone. In this video, I'll be talking about how to solve a passage. So, suppose this is the passage that we are given, 5 paras in those passage. So what we are supposed to do is look at para 1, write down maybe 2 or 3 words. Look at para 2, write down 2 or 3 important words. Para 3, important words. Para 4, important words. Para 5, important words. Then after reading all of this, we should write down the central or main idea that we think okay is applies to this. Then we should write down the tone. Is author positive about this topic? Is author negative about this topic? Is author neutral about? Is author attacking or defending? Okay, so and these are the questions. So there are two things that I'd suggest: read the passage first, then move on to the questions. Because what happens is, what people do is they read the questions first, then read the passage, then come to the question again. So they have wasted time in reading those questions, because you are absolutely not going to retain any information that you have read in the questions. You are going to get more confused, because now you have read a difficult question. You can't understand that question. You know that okay, the passage is also going to be difficult, and that might create a problem for you. So it's better to read the passage first, make a passage map, and write down central idea, main idea, and tone. So let's look at this passage. Okay, so this how I am going to proceed is, I am going to read the paragraph, write down 2 or 3 important words from that paragraph. So let's go ahead. Nico Frijda writes that emotions are governed by psychological principle called law of apparent reality. Emotions are elicited only by events appraised as real, and intensity of these emotions correspond to degree to which these events are appraised as real. This observation seems psychologically plausible, but emotional responses elicited by the work of art raise counterexamples. So, from the first paragraph, the stand of author is pretty clear. What Nico Frijda says is that emotions are elicited only by the events that are real, and its intensity depends on the to which degree to which these events are appraised as real. The more we think the event is real, the more we are going to have emotional response to that event. What author is saying is that emotional responses elicited by the work of art is an opposite of what Nico Frijda claims. So from this paragraph, what I am going to write down is the view of author, that is, non-real events can also evoke emotions. So I'll write down real and cut it out. The reason why I'm not writing Nico Frijda's views and author's view is because in the whole solving of my RC, I always write down author's view at the end while solving questions. We are going to look at author's view only, so that's why. And the other thing is example art. Art is one of the example that author uses in order to show that emotions can also be raised, emotions can also be elicited by events that are not real. So let's continue. Frijda's laws accounts for my panic if I am afraid of snake and see an object I correctly appraise as a rattlesnake, and also for my identical response if I see coiled garden hose I mistakenly perceive to be a snake. However, suppose I am watching a movie and see a snake gliding towards its victim. Surely I might experience the same emotion of panic and distress, though I know that the snake is not real. Okay, so in these 4 lines, what author is saying is that okay, I can confuse a garden hose for a real snake, and I might be afraid of that. I might get afraid of that. But what if I am watching a movie? Okay, I am going to experience that same emotion of panic and distress, even though I know that there is no snake, that it is in the movie, the snake is not real. So let's continue. These responses extend to even the phenomena not conventionally accepted as real. Okay. So I think by reading this, we know that the whole passage is going to be how author defends his stand that emotions can also be elicited by non-real events, and he is going to use examples to defend his stand. So let's see. A movie about ghosts, for example, may be terrifying to all viewers, even those who firmly reject the possibility of ghosts, but this is not because viewers are confusing cinematic depiction with reality. Okay, so what he's saying that we all know ghosts are not real, but they can be terrifying to even those who claims that okay ghosts are not real, and they can be terrifying to those segment of audience too. So this kind of proves this that phenomena not conventionally accepted as real. Okay, so these responses extend even to phenomena not conventionally accepted as real. So this is kind of a support to this line that author says this response extend to phenomena not conventionally accepted as real. Okay. Moreover, I can feel strong emotions in response to object of art that are interpretations rather than representations of reality. Okay. So what author is saying is he feels more response to object of art that are interpretations rather than what represents reality, and how we can interpret reality from those pieces of arts. He's moved more by interpretations. So see, let's read ahead. I am moved by Mozart's Requiem, but I know that I am not at a real funeral. So Mozart's Requiem is a piece composed by Mozart. Mostly, I think it is related with funeral. So let's read ahead. However, if Frigida's law is to explain all emotional reactions, there should be no emotional response to all the aesthetic objects or events, because we know that they are not real in a way a rattlesnake is real. So again, author comes back to his point that Frigida's law is not explaining how these aesthetic objects or events which we know are not real evoke or elicit emotions. Okay, so from this paragraph what I'll write down is the example of rattlesnake, the example of ghost. So I didn't knew exactly the how what author means when he says that I can feel strong emotions in response to object of art that are interpretations rather than representations. And I don't exactly know how Mozart's Requiem supports author. Okay, I know how Mozart's Requiem supports author that he's this is going against Frigida's law, but for some of you, you might not get how author has used this example to support his argument. So that's why rattlesnake and ghost is what we know that okay, this is clearly supporting the author's argument. So let's read ahead. Most psychologists perplexed by the feeling they acknowledge are aroused by aesthetic experience have claimed that emotions are genuine but different in kind from non-aesthetic emotions. Okay. So most psychologists perplexed by the feeling they acknowledge are aroused by aesthetic experience have claimed that these emotions are genuine, that feelings aroused by aesthetic experiences are genuine, but they are different from non-aesthetic. So feelings that emotions elicited by real events are kind of different from non-real events. This is what most psychologists claim. This is, however, descriptive distinction rather than empirical observation and constantly lacks explanatory value. So what author is saying is, if you don't get this statement, the only thing to take from this statement is consequently lack explanatory. It cannot be explained, cannot be determined why this phenomena is there. That why, uh, even though the emotions are genuine but are different from the non-aesthetic one. On the other hand, Gombrich argues that emotional responses to art are ersatz. I don't know what author has just said. So let's read ahead. Art triggers remembrance of previously experienced emotions. Okay. So what Gombrich is saying is when we look at art, it triggers a remembrance of what we have previously experienced. These debates have prompted the psychologist Radford to argue that people do experience real melancholy or joy responding to art, but that these are irrational responses precisely because people know that they are reacting to illusionary stimuli. Okay, so what Radford is saying that people know that this is illusion, this is fake, this is not real, but they still experience melancholy or joy. So Radford is going against Gombrich's argument that that art triggers emotion only when that event has previously happened in our past. But what Radford is saying that it is not necessarily the case. People can also react to those art even if they have not experienced it before. Okay, so let's read ahead. Frijda's laws does not help us untangle these positions since it simply implies that events we recognize as being uh, represented rather than real cannot elicit emotion in the first place. So what author is saying now is that this still doesn't help us because what Frijda says that the events that are not real cannot elicit emotion in the first place, cannot makes us emotional in the first place. So from this, what I am going to write down is that emotions, aesthetic emotions and non-aesthetic emotions are not equal, are different. But and why they're different, that is it cannot be determined. Author has said that um, consequently lacks the explanatory value, but are genuine. Okay, so what author says is that the emotions that are aroused by aesthetic experience are genuine. So why author uses Gombrich is because what Gombrich says is that we have experienced this emotion in the past. So therefore, this can be Gombrich is kind of supporting Nico Frijda that this is a real event. This has happened in the past. That is why we are feeling this emotion. But what Radford says is goes against Gombrich that it is not necessarily the case. People react to art. People know that this is illusion. This is not real, and therefore it is not necessarily the case that people have experienced it. And in the last sentence, what Frijda's law doesn't help to untangle these positions. What author says is that it still doesn't help us how Frijda's laws apply because what she thinks is uh, the events that are considered not real cannot elicit emotion in the first place. Okay, so let's look at the next paragraph. Frijda does suggest that vivid imagination has properties of reality, implying that without explanation that we make aesthetic objects or events real in the act of experiencing them. So what Frijda now says is that if we experience an aesthetic event, a non-real event, while we are experiencing that event, suppose looking at a art, we are having a feeling of joy, and because of that, because of this experience, this becomes real. But this is definitely not the case. However, as Crunton argues, a necessary characteristic of imaginative construction that can occur in emotional response to art is that the person know he or she is pretending. So Scrinton is what again saying that the person know that this is fake, he's know that this is not real, he's pretending it to be real, but he knows that he's pretending. This is what distinguishes imagination from psychotic fantasy. So this is the main characteristic. If you look at art and you think that okay this is real, then you are more likely to come under the category of psychotic fantasy than what imagination is. So this is how I draw the passage map. So let's look at the paragraph structure and the main idea and all of that. So purpose and main idea. The author's point is to demonstrate that Frijda's laws of apparent reality doesn't account for full human emotional responses. This is what we saw. This is what we wrote down in our passage map. The author's specific main idea is that Frigida's law failed to explain emotional responses to work of art. Throughout the passage, the author is continuously using art as an example. So therefore, art also becomes an important part of the author's main idea. Paragraph structure. Paragraph 1 describes Frigida's law and provides us with author's belief that although it seems plausible, it cannot account for emotions brought on by experience that aren't appraised as real, such as the emotions brought on by viewing the work of art. This is what we saw in the first paragraph. What paragraph 2 does is it goes into the detail about difference between genuine and contrived experience and points out that Frigida's law cannot account for emotional responses caused by aesthetic experience, non-real experience. Paragraph 3 summarizes the view of authors of other psychologists on the issue of human emotional responses to contrived or aesthetic experience and notes that Frigida's law doesn't help to clarify these views. So again, if you look at the paragraph 3, psychologists make a claim, Gombrich make a claim, another psychologist attacks that claim and defends his stand that okay, we know that this is not real. We know that art is not. We know that when we look at art, what emotions are elicited by that art, we know that this is a non-real event. This is more of an aesthetic experience. Paragraph 4 describes Frigida's unsatisfactory attempt to cover up that problem by claiming that human imagination turns contrived experience into genuine one. So again, yes, paragraph 4 exactly does that. That Frigida makes an attempt to convert a aesthetic or non-real event into a real event by saying that when we are experiencing this becomes real. But again, Scrunton, however, argues Scrunton goes against Frigida's view, supporting the author. So let's go to the questions. Which of the following best states the central idea of the passage? The law of apparent reality fails to account for satisfactorily for the emotional nature of belief. Okay, so in this option, the problem is that it fails to account satisfactorily till then it is right for the emotional nature of belief. The author isn't talking about uh, emotions or what we see. Thing with belief is something that we think it is true, but it has not proven it to be true. So in the future, it can be proven it to be true or it cannot be true. So that is why belief cannot be used in our option. The reason being in our correct option, okay, theories of aesthetic response fail to account for how we distinguish unreasonable from reasonable responses to art. So the author isn't talking about the difference between responses to art, difference between unreasonable response to art, reasonable response to art. What author is merely saying is that what we experience through art is a non-real event, and what Frisda so through art what we are experiencing is a non-real event, and author is going against what Frisda's law of apparent reality is. The third is law of apparent reality fails to account satisfactorily for emotional responses to art. This is exactly what author is saying. Since a better option for this would have been law of apparent reality fails to account satisfactorily to non-real events also. So since art is the main example that author has used throughout the passage, this is what is going to be our answer. So let's look at option D. Psychologists have been unable to determine what accounts for the changeable nature of emotional response to art. Psychologists have been unable to determine what accounts for. Psychologists are introduced in the third paragraph, and this statement is only part of that paragraph. This statement does not account for the whole passage. So this is definitely not our answer. Psychologists have been unable to determine what differentiates aesthetic. Again, this is aesthetic from non-aesthetic emotional responses. Again, this is only one part of the passage that has been used in paragraph 3. So therefore our answer becomes option C, because D and E are too narrow. A is completely alien because author does not talk about emotional nature of belief. What he is talking about is real events and non-real events, and how Frijda's law does not account for non-emotional emotions elicited by non-real events. Option B is wrong because theory of aesthetic response fails to account for how it is. Okay, option B is because again author is not discussing reasonable or unreasonable responses to art. What author is discussing is real and non-real events, how emotions are elicited by that. So let's look at the second question. According to the passage, Frijda's law assert that emotional responses to events are. So what I would suggest is try to answer the question before reading the options. So what Frijda's law, in every RC questions you should try that before reading the options you should kind of answer the at least the specific or detailed question. Frijda's law asserts that emotional responses to the events are. What Frijda's law is saying is that the more we think the event is real, the more it is going to elicit our emotions. It says that if the event is not real, then it is not going to elicit any emotion. So let's read the option. Unpredictable because emotional responses depend on how aware the person is of reality of an event. This is clearly the wrong option because it is predictable. If the event is real, we are going to have an emotion. If it is not real, we are not going to have an emotion. Awareness does not come into picture because Vijda's law does not account for awareness only. There is no element of awareness discussed in the passage. Weaker. Let's look at option B, weaker. If person cannot distinguish illusion from reality. So again, the awareness or the inability of the person to distinguish illusion from reality hasn't been discussed. What Frijda says, if it is real, going to elicit emotion. If it is not real, not going to elicit emotion. So option A and B both are wrong. Let's look at option C, more or less intense depending on the degree to which person perceives the event to be real. So this is exactly what Frijda claims, that the intensity or the degree lies on how we appraise it to be real. This is what has been mentioned in the first paragraph. Okay, and the intensity of this emotion corresponds to degree to which these events are appraised as real. So therefore, our answer is option C. Let's look at option D and E. More intense if the person perceives an event to be frightening. So frightening is one element of our emotion. So therefore, this is too specific to be considered to be an answer. Weaker if the person judges an event to be real but unthreatening. Oh, again, see, frightening, unthreatening are not accounting for all the ranges of emotions that we experience. Are not accounting for all the ranges of emotions that we experience. So let's look at third question. The passage support all of the following statement about the differences between Gombrich and Redford except. So this is an accept question. So let's read the options straight away. Redford's argument relies on a notion of irrationality in a way that Gombrich's argument does not. So what we have to do in this question is we have to find that one statement that has not been that cannot be inferred from Gombrich and Redford's argument. So the first argument can be inferred. Okay, so Redford argument relies on a notion of irrationality in a way. So okay, these are what this option is saying is that they have opposite mentality when it comes to like what Gombrich says is that let's go to that paragraph. What Gombrich says is that uh, we are experiencing emotions because we have experienced this event before. We have previously experienced, okay, remembrance of previously experienced emotions. What Radford is saying is this is not necessarily the case. We know this is fake. We know this is an illusion. So option one is true. Gombrich position is closer to position of majority of psychologists than is Redford's. So Gombrich's position is not closer to position of psychologist. Redford's position is more close. The reason being, Gombrich is going against the author. Gombrich is supporting Nico Frijda. Radford is supporting not only the psychologist but also the author. So this is why this option is wrong. So this option becomes our answer. This option is not true. So this option becomes our answer because this is an accept question. Let's look at the third option. Gombrich, unlike Radford, argues that we do not have true emotions in response to art. This is also true because what Gombrich is saying is supported by this option that we do not have true emotions because our emotions are affected by our emotions are influenced by what we have experienced in the past. Gombrich's argument rests on a notion of memory in a way that Radford argument does not. Yes, emotions experienced in the past can be derived only from when they are in our memory. So the element of memory is also there. So this is also true. Radford's argument, unlike Gombrich's, is not focused on artificial quality of emotional response to art. So what this option is saying is that is not focused on artificial quality. Gombrich's argument is that we have experienced this in the past, that is why we are having this emotion while looking at a art. So this is more or less an artificial quality only. What Radford is saying is what we are experiencing, we have not experienced. This is what Radford says is that the originality of our experience that we are experiencing on the spot while looking at the art. So Radford's argument is against, okay, is definitely not focused on artificial quality of emotional. It is more focused on originality of the emotional responses that we get on the spot while looking at the art. So therefore option E is also true. Option B becomes our right answer. So let's look at the fourth question. The author suggests that Frijda's notion of role of imagination in aesthetic response is problematic because. So let's look at the fourth paragraph again. Frijda suggests that vivid imagination is without explanation that we are aesthetic are real. Okay, what Frijda does not completely account. What Frijda says once we have experienced it becomes real, but Scrunton provides the argument that is opposite to what Frijda's argument is. So the problem is that the problem with Frijda's argument is that uh, the person know he or she is pretending. The person know this is imagination. Frijda doesn't account for that. So let's look at the options. Ignore the self consciousness that the characteristic of emotion response to art. Okay, so some of you might not completely understand this option, so it would be better to keep this option on hold and let's move on to other options and try to eliminate that. Ignores the distinction between genuine emotion and exaggered emotion. So the problem with Frijda's notion of what Frijda's notion of the role of imagination is not this, that the distinction between genuine and exaggered emotion. What Frijda is saying is once we experience it becomes real. So this is unrelated to Frijda's notion only. And this hasn't been mentioned in the fourth paragraph, so we can straight away eliminate option B. Let's look at option C. Ignores the fact that a person who is imagining knows that he or she is imagining. Okay. Ignores the fact that the person who is imagining knows that this is exactly what Scrunton says that the problem with Frijda's notion of role imagination is when it comes to aesthetic response or when it comes to non-real events, that the person know, the people know while looking at art, while experiencing a ghost movie, that this is not real, but they still experience. So option C becomes our answer. Let's look at option D. Makes irrelevant distinction between vivid and weak imaginative capacities. Imaginative capacities hasn't been discussed in the passage altogether, so this is completely alien option. So we can straight away eliminate option D. Suggest in reference to observation of art that there is no distinction between real and illusory stimuli. The problem with option A is, first of all, author uses the example of art and not Frijda. And second, what Frijda says, what is real can only elicit emotion, and non-real events cannot elicit any emotion. So therefore, according to Nico Frijda, there is distinction between what is real and what is illusionary. What is illusory? So that is why option E is wrong. So option C becomes our right answer. This is how you should solve RCs. This should be your basic approach to RCs. You should not rush to read the question first, because you won't get any idea that what is going to be the difficulty level of the passage, how difficult it is going to be to read. So therefore, you should always start with the passage first and then move on to the questions. Try to make short notes like that, uh, like this, the ones that I have made. Write down maybe 2 or 3 words, 4 words, but not more than that. Important words that kind of summarizes the whole paragraph. And this is how one should proceed with RCs. So if you want me to solve more RCs, please comment down. Or if you need any help, you can join our Telegram channel. The link is in the description.